Hello guys, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and I am a flower farmer in East Yorkshire in the UK, and I've been growing flowers for 6 years now, and I'm just heading into my 7th season, and every year is just a little bit different on the flower farm as things kind of move on, different fashion trends come and go, so I kind of need to be flexible with my planting plan and my seed sowing schedule to make sure that I'm keeping up with the times and also kind of developing my own brand and my own style as well. So in this video today I just wanted to talk you through the varieties of cut flowers that I'm growing this year for my customers and what kind of customers I'm growing the flowers for and why I'm choosing those flowers in particular. So I hope you'll find this interesting. I know that lots of people are interested in kind of the style that I do my bouquets in, and if you're interested in finding out just a little bit more, then I have some online workshops on my website. I have a hand-tied bouquet one which will give you the recipe for making your own hand-tied bouquets. I'll tell you which kind of flowers work best in bouquets and how to put that together. And I also have a grow your own cut flowers from seed workshop, which will give you all the tips and tricks that you need to know to start your cut flowers off from seed. And I have a little freebie for you as well on my website, which is some cheat sheets for my 5 favourite cut flowers, which are foxgloves, larkspur, Rudbeckia, phlox and snapdragons. So that is free on the website, so if you go onto my workshops and events tab, I'll put the link down in the description, then you'll find those free cheat sheets. So as someone who sells my flowers to customers, it's important to know what kind of flowers my customers are going to want to buy, and this kind of depends what they're going to be using the flowers for. Is it going to be a gift bouquet? Are they going to be wedding flowers? Is it a florist doing wedding flowers? Or am I selling subscription flowers? So last season, the bulk of my flower sales was hand-tied bouquets. That included my subscription flowers, just one-off orders that people were making, and my honesty box bunches. And people tend to be attracted to kind of quite brightly coloured market style bouquets when it comes to buying hand-tied bouquets. Usually they are buying them as a gift for somebody to cheer them up or to say thank you or to say get well soon. So these bouquets want to be nice and bright and cheerful to cheer the person up who's being gifted the bouquet. So I noticed as well when I was doing farmers markets just before the beginning of COVID, kind of 2017, 18, 19, I found that the brightest bouquets sold first when I was doing the farmers markets, and I would often have kind of like a bucket of leftovers at the end that because I would take some flowers with me that were loose, and I would just make up bouquets whilst I was at the market just to give myself something to do. And always the kind of mix and match ones that I put together at the end would sell first, which was really interesting. So the ones that I'd spent ages curating and putting together tended to go a little bit further down the line, but the kind of mixed bright bouquets sold really well. I also sold the majority of my flowers to wedding bucket customers. So these customers, I would pick them a bucket of flowers which contained 65 stems, and they would collect them and go and arrange them for their wedding. And lots of these clients tended to be couples that were getting married who wanted like a garden theme, or they wanted a festival theme, so it was quite easy to persuade them to just have mixed buckets of different colours. And I tend to kind of push people down that route anyway, because then it allows me to have lots of flexibility in picking the flowers and making sure that they get the best quality flowers, because I've got lots more to choose from. Whereas if my customer came and said I want all yellow flowers, I might not be able to deliver that, and I might end up picking flowers that aren't as good quality just because I'm trying to get the colours for them. So asking the client to have kind of an appreciation for the wide variety of colours that I have available on the farm allows me to pick really good quality flowers for them. This year I am going into something that I haven't actually done much of before, which is going to be florist sales. And every year I sell to probably about 3 or 4 florists, and they get a few buckets from me throughout the season. But I really want to push this a little bit more this year, because I think it's going to be a little bit easier than making up bouquets and trying to sell them to the public. So I already have a list of quite loyal florists that come along, so I'm hoping to be able to grow more for them in particular, and they will be able to come along and buy flowers from a local supplier, which is going to be a great relationship. And the wedding flowers kind of trends seem to kind of stay quite stable. Well, at least that's what I think. Over the last few years, people never seem to want to get away from the white and greenery kind of type of wedding flowers. So I find that florists usually always want white and neutral colours and greenery, and there are some florists every now and again that want bright colours and aren't really too fussed about the colour palette. So what I did was I sent out a survey to my florist mailing list, and I asked them what kind of trends they think that would be coming along in 2023. Lots of them still said neutrals, but some of them said more autumnal colours come kind of October, September time. So I'm going to be this year putting in lots more white and neutrals to try and test out that florist market and see how it works this year. Like I said, I sent out a survey to my florists, which gives me kind of a rough idea of what they might want me to grow this year. And I also looked back on some of my favourite pictures of my favourite bouquets from 2022, and this is where it really comes in handy to take pictures of your work. I know sometimes you can get quite busy and you don't get the time, or you think you're not taking a very good photograph and you don't do it, but actually just to have it there as a record is really useful. So make sure you take pictures of your work and you can look back on it when you're coming to plan your season ahead for the next year. So I looked back on some of my favourite pictures, my favourite bouquets, and there were quite a few that stood out. I'll put some pictures up on the screen for you now. And those bouquets tended to include things like Rudbeckias, dahlias, Helichrysum, snapdragons, phlox, achillea, cosmos, zinnias, things like grasses and things like that. You can sort of tell from the pictures on the screen what kind of vibe I'm going for, and you can see that I'm not really into kind of the bright primary colours. I don't really grow anything that's red, blue, bright yellow. It's all kind of muted, pastel-y, but still bright colours. So that's kind of me trying to hone in my style. I really want that to be my brand identity. I want my bouquets to kind of be pastel-y but bright at the same time, and I feel like I want to go down that road again this year. So I'm making sure that I'm putting in lots of those varieties again this year, and I'll get into specific varieties later on in the video. So I also want to mention the things that I'm not growing, and I think I mentioned in one of my other videos that I'm not going to be growing sunflowers this year, which may come as a shock to some people because sunflowers tend to be quite profitable flowers for certain growers anyway, but I just can't use them in arrangements. I just don't like them very much. I think sometimes if you can get the smaller branching varieties, they're quite nice, but I tend not to sell single species bunches, so I wouldn't tend to sell like a bunch of sunflowers, for example. Maybe if I was getting into more farmers markets and things, I would definitely do that, and maybe it might be something that florists would be interested in later on down the line, but I always pick them for my hand-tied bouquets and I end up not using them because they're either a little bit too bulky, they don't really go with my colour palette, and I just didn't use them. So I've decided to cut those out this year and I'm not going to grow them in 2023. I'm also not going to be growing as much of amaranthus. I think I'm just going to be putting in a few plants of hot biscuits. So every year, or particularly last year, I grew a massive strip of amaranthus and it was way too much. I didn't use any of it. I attempted to dry some, but the seeds ended up everywhere and it was kind of a bit of a nightmare. So I'm going to grow a few hot biscuits because I tend to like to have that as a spike element in some of my hand-tied bouquets, but apart from that I don't think I'm going to be growing any other types of amaranthus this year. I'm also not going to be growing asters this year. They come in some really gorgeous colours, some really nice coral, salmon, white colours, but I grew quite a large patch of them last year and I grew them under a tunnel because I wanted to prevent them from getting rain damage on them. So what happens is they tend to rain, they collect the rain in the petals, and the petals kind of go a bit of a brown colour and they tend not to look that nice and you can't pick them because they're not good enough quality. So I think even if I could protect them from the elements, I don't think I really enjoy using them that much. So I'm not going to be that interested in growing them for my hand-tied bouquets this year. It might be something that the florists are interested in, but maybe I'll be tempted to throw just maybe 10 or 20 plants in just to see if the florists are interested. But apart from that, I don't think I'm going to be using them myself in hand-tied bouquet work. Another thing I'm not going to grow this year is Lavaterra or mallow, and I actually do quite like using mallow, especially I think I quite like the white one, but the problem is that last year I had a lot of damage on the petals and the leaves, and it made them not quite saleable. They weren't good enough quality to use, so I don't think I'm going to grow them this year because they just weren't good enough quality. Maybe in a couple of years time I'll attempt to grow them again because they are quite a nice filler, but for now I think I'm going to be leaving the Lavaterra behind. Cornflower is another thing that I'm not going to grow this year because it is really annoying to pick. It kind of blows over in the wind. I don't use support netting in my fields, by the way, because I just get really frustrated with it getting all tangled up and having to take it apart at the end of the season. I'd rather just sacrifice a few stems to the wind. Maybe if I need to do something, I'll put a few stakes in and corral with some twine, but I just can't be doing with that tangled mess. So I'm not going to be growing cornflowers because they're just really annoying, and they aren't really worth a lot, and to put them in a bouquet doesn't really add much to a bouquet. So I'm deciding to cut down on that annoying picking that I have to do every year with the cornflowers by not growing them at all. So I just wanted to talk specifically about the varieties that I'm going to be growing this year, and if I've grown the variety before and filmed it, I'm going to try and put some nice B-roll over the top of it so you can see what they look like in person. But if not, I'll try and find a picture off the website or something like that, just so that you can get a feel for the type of flower that I'm going to be growing. And I'll try and put the names on the screens as well, because I know some people struggle with my accent. So we'll start with zinnias. So I'm going to be growing this year the Lilliput Rose variety and Lilliput Salmon. Queen Red Lime, that one's always really nice. It's the greeny, reddy coloured one. I love that, and it's a really nice size as well for bouquets. Oklahoma Salmon and Benary's Giant Lilac, Benary's Giant Lime and Benary's Giant Salmon Rose, and Cinderella Lilac. I'm looking forward to growing all of those again this year. Last year we had a really hot, dry summer, which was great for zinnias, so I'm hoping that we are going to get kind of favourable weather for the zinnias again this year so that they grow nicely outdoors. And then Rudbeckia varieties. So the mainstay of my Rudbeckia this year is going to be Rudbeckia Sahara. I also have some Rudbeckia triloba, some gold stem and some Goldilocks. So I'm trying a couple of new varieties, but Sahara is always on the list every year. However, this year I'm growing a much bigger bed of Rudbeckia Sahara. That one's also a really nice size for like a not a focal flower, but like a secondary flower within the bouquets. It's always a really, really nice addition to a bouquet. Last year I grew Celestia for the first time, and I grew, my favourite one was the flamingo feathers one. I got, I think, a pack of 1,000 seeds from Mole Seeds, and it grew really nicely, and it was such a nice little spike element to put into the bouquets. So I'm definitely going to be growing that one again this year. I did grow some of the coxcomb ones last year as well. I didn't really get on with them very well. They kind of, I think they're a bit freaky to some people, so I think I'm just going to carry on growing the flamingo feather ones. And I'm also testing out a variety called Sunday Dark Pink and Sylphid, and then also have a tall mixed variety packet as well, so I'll probably put that one in too. Then moving on to Cosmos, I'm going to be growing Double Click Snow Puff. So that is a white variety which is going to be more for the florists and in some of my hand-tied bouquets, and also Purity, which is a white one as well, which the florists will probably quite enjoy. Then I'm going to go with Cupcake Blush and Apricotta, which was my favourite flower of 2022. I just love the apricot colour that comes with that variety. And then a staple that I grow every year is Fizzy Rose Picotea. It's kind of like white with a pink edge, pink and white, but it's gorgeous. I really love growing that one. It's a really nice kind of airy element to the bouquets that I make every year. And then I actually did a bit of a U-turn on this one because I wasn't going to grow it, but I've decided in the end that I am, because it makes a really good filler for the bouquets, and that is Limonium or Status. So I'm going to be growing a white, pink and a salmon colour. So I've got Seeker Rose, Seeker White and Apricot Desire. So I'm going to be using those as a filler in my bouquets. And I'm also going to be growing Limonium Suawarii, which is the rat tail Status. That one did really well in spring last year, so I'm going to put some of that in. That's actually the stuff that's hanging up there behind me in my workshop. And then I'm going to be growing Phlox Creme Brulee, which is a really nice kind of creamy pinky variety that I really like to put as like an added detail in the bouquets. I think that really adds something nice to it. And also Alba, which is a white variety, and I haven't actually grown that one before, so that was going to be interesting. And then probably the favourite thing that I grew last year altogether was snapdragons. I just really love the way that they are spiked and the colours that they come in and the varieties. I really enjoy growing snapdragons. So last year I grew Potomac Orange, which was a new variety to me, and it was amazing. So I'm definitely going to be growing that one again this year. And also I'm going to be growing Potomac Pink and Potomac Lavender. The Potomac Lavender is amazing. I really love that one as well. It makes really nice kind of whimsical bouquets, and it goes nicely with lots of different colours. A couple of new ones that I'm trying is Overture Deep Orange, Madame Butterfly Ivory. I've not grown that before. And I'm also going to be growing Costa Apricot and Costa Silver. I haven't grown the Costa Silver one before actually. And then for another spike variety, I'm going with Larkspur, and I kind of don't really grow the deep coloured Larkspur like dark purple or the blue colours. I tend to go with light pink, maybe sometimes a darker pink and white. So I'm going to be growing White King, Limelight Pink, Salmon Beauty and Smoky Eyes, which is kind of like a really dusky kind of light coloured purple. Kind of similar vibes to the Potomac Lavender Snapdragon. And then another really favourite thing that I put in my bouquets last year was Helichrysum. Salmon Rose was my favourite one that I grew, and I also quite liked the pomegranate coloured one as well. I haven't actually got the pomegranate one in this year, but I'm going to be growing Salmon Rose, Apricot Peach and a white variety, and I haven't grown the white one before, so that's going to be quite interesting for for this season. And then I always like to add kind of a feathery element, kind of like a movement piece in some of my bouquets, and that usually comes in the form of either the cosmos and things that float above the bouquet, or grasses. So this year I'm going to be growing annual grasses. I'm going to be growing bunnytails or Ligurus urvatus. I get that one from mole seeds, and I have made the mistake of buying the dwarf variety before, and it only gets to about that tall. So make sure you get the right variety. It's usually called hare's tail, not bunny tails. And anyway, the Latin name is Ligurus urvatus. And then Soteria macrostachya, which isn't really kind of an airy grass, but it does kind of add quite a structural element. It's that nice green one. Every time I post it on Instagram or in the videos, I always get asked about it. And then these are kind of not in categories, but I just wanted to mention that I'm also going to be growing the light rose coloured corncob. I sometimes try to grow like the white, the pink one, but last year I grew the light pink coloured one, and it was really, really gorgeous, and the florist that I sold it to absolutely loved it as well. So I'm going to try and get quite a bit of that put in this year as well. And I've also sown quite a few stocks this year. I can't actually remember which varieties they are off the top of my head, but they are back in the greenhouse, and that they are usually white and peachy coloured varieties that I'll be growing. And then I'm also going to put in some poppies, some Achillea for a filler, and I've gone with the Summer Pastels variety, and flax and Greek cress as a filler as well. So that kind of sums up what I'm going to be growing this year. Obviously I have got perennials in, and I'm growing dahlias again this year, and I've got, I think, a couple of hundred on order that are going to be turning up in springtime. So I'll definitely talk through the varieties of dahlias that I'm going to be growing this year in an upcoming video. But I'm really excited to be kind of developing my brand style of bouquets by kind of assessing the bouquets that I really liked the look of last season, and kind of streamlining that back into 2023, and also trying out something new with the varieties that I'm going to be growing for the florists this year. So let me know what new things you're trying this year, and what are the staples that you just can't live without in your cut flower patch or on your flower farm. Put them down in the comments and we can have a chat about what our favourite varieties are going to be for 2023. Thank you so much for watching again, guys, and I will see you on the next one.